I'll start the class.
This call is now being recorded.
So the spinal cord disorders. So in this, we'll start with an MCQ. Which of the following sensation are transmitted by dorsal tract, that is posterior column? Fine touch, pain, temperature, all of the above. Can anybody, students, give the answer? Huh? Can anybody give the answer for this question? Jayashree? Jayashree?
Sir?
What is the answer for this? It's not a very difficult question actually. The question is very simple. I feel that you should know. The spinal cord, what are the columns anteriorly? What sensory tracts are lateral spinothalamic tract, posterior tracts, dorsal column. What are transmitted sensation? Here, students are joining. That's what here. Okay. So, which of the sensations are transmitted by dorsal tract? Roshan.
Sir.
Which of the sensations are transmitted by dorsal tract? Posterior column. Fine touch, pain, temperature, all of the above.
Sir, fine touch.
Fine touch. See the posterior column. Actually this what do you say? What here? Okay. Fine touch, proprio, sensory, and what is that? Vibration, stereognosis. All these things are transmitted by posterior column. Actually, all the sensations are transmitted by posterior column. Hold on, some student is joining. Okay. Okay. All these sensations are transmitted by posterior column, whereas this pain, temperature, crude. All of you are seeing PPT or no? Hello?
Yes, sir. It is seeing, sir.
Yes, sir.
PPT is seen.
Yes, sir.
Okay, then somebody was complaining PPT is not seen. Just find out. PPT is seen means. Okay, then. The pain and temperature, crude touch, these sensations are transmitted by spinothalamic tracts, which are where the situated lateral aspect of the spinal cord. We'll go in detail about the anatomy of spinal cord. Now, this is a table showing the posterior column and spinothalamic tract. You can see the slide now. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is a posterior column. See in posterior column, the fine touch, fine pressure, vibration, joints, sense, all these things are transmitted by posterior column. Whereas the spinothalamic tract is it just crude touch, crude pressure, pinprick pain, and temperature. These are transmitted by lateral spinothalamic tracts. Now, ventrolateral cordotomy is performed to produce pain relief from the right leg. It is effective because it interrupts the ventrolateral cordotomy is performed. Why? How does the ventrolateral cordotomy works? So what do you mean? This is the spinal cord. This is the spinal cord. Now, if I divide that into 4 quadrants, this is posterior, this is anterior, otherwise ventral. So ventrolateral. This means something like this. This is the right side. If I say this is right, this is left. Ventrolateral. Sorry, this is right. Okay. Students are joining. That's why I'm getting interrupted. I'll admit the students. So there are 4 quadrants here. You can see I'm just dividing spinal cord into 4 quadrants. Ventrolateral means anterior and lateral aspect here. These two, ventrolateral, either right or left.
Now, left spinal.
So right leg, it is effective because it interrupts the what? Tell me what?
Sir, left lateral spinothalamic tract.
Yeah, because spinothalamic tracts just soon after it enters the spinal cord, it crosses to the opposite side.
Process opposite side.
Right? That's why if you want to intervene the pain sensation on the right leg, you need to do left side, ventrolateral, huh, huh, cordotomy. You have to remove this. So the right leg will have become pain free. I'll go to the tracks now. Yeah, we'll discuss about the tracks. So this is a in this diagram you can see it is a case of this is for posterior column. Posterior column. Students are joining. This is students are joining. Hold on, I'm admit them all. Okay. So on the right side, on the this is sorry, I'm discussing about the posterior column now. This posterior column, which is also called as dorsal column, it has actually two tracts here, medial and lateral. What are they known as? Medial and lateral. What are the names? Can anybody tell me this? Gracilis and cutaneous. Huh?
Gracilis and gracilis.
Cutaneous and gracilis. The cutaneous is on the lateral aspect, gracilis on the medial aspect. So these are two tracts which are there posteriorly. These are posterior column, dorsal columns. Here these two tracts carry the propriosensory, joint sense, fine touch, then vibration sense, stereognosis. All these things are carried by these tracts. Okay. Now here you can see here. Hold on. Here you can see this is the spinal cord. This is the spinal cord. This one is dorsal root. Dorsal root. This is ventral root. Yeah, ventral or antral root. Now in the dorsal root, you can see seeing some bulging here. See, you are seeing a bulge here. Before it forms the spinal nerve. Here, spinal nerve forms. This is a spinal nerve. So before dorsal and ventral root join together, this in the dorsal aspect is the bulge. This is a ganglion, dorsal ganglion. This dorsal ganglion contains the nerve cell body of the peripheral nerve. This is a peripheral nerve actually. This is the peripheral nerve. You can see here. See, this contains the nerve cell body, and it has got one dendrite going out, one dendrite going in to the spinal cord. So impulses which are coming from the periphery, they come here in the cell body. From here it goes to the posterior horn, posterior gray horn of the spinal cord here, and these end here. They come here, and some of them end here, and they move up and end in the where? This is what is this? Medulla oblongata. Some of them end here, but some of them go up here and end on the medulla oblongata here. From here we get a second order. So actually second order neuron comes here only. This diagram is showing false here. This is a second order neuron. Hold on a second. Okay. These nerves come and end up in the what? This is what? Nucleus gracilis. This is a nucleus. What is this? Cutaneous. This is lateral, na?
Yes,
nucleus cutaneous. And this is nucleus gracilis. This first order end up in the nucleus gracilis and nucleus cutaneous. Cutaneous on the lateral aspect, gracilis on the medial aspect. From here, the second order neuron which comes out, it crosses to the opposite side. This happens in the medulla oblongata. With respect to the dorsal column, the crossing over to the opposite side happens at the level of medulla oblongata. So when the problems of the spinal cord occur, the disease manifestation is with respect to the dorsal column is on the ipsilateral side.
Yes,
okay. The second order neurons of course end in the thalamus. From there they are projected to the cortex. Okay. So spinal in a nutshell, in a nutshell, the dorsal column which carries the fine touch, joint position test, sense, and stereognosis. All these things are carried across the same side on the in the spinal cord. At the level of the medulla oblongata, they go to the opposite side. Then they project to the cortex via thalamus. This is how the posterior column works. Huh?
Dorsal column.
So yeah, posterior dorsal column. Okay, no, this works. So if the disease of this dorsal column happens, the manifestation of sensory loss is on the ipsilateral. We'll come to spinal thalamic tract. As the spinal thalamic tract here, you can see the spinal thalamic tract. The nerves they end in the anterior horn only, whereas the dorsal column, the first order neuron, the end in the nucleus gracilis here.
Yes, sir.
To note this difference, the spinal thalamic with respect to the spinal thalamic tract, the primary neuron, which is outside peripheral neuron, first order neuron, this ends in the anterior horn. From the anterior horn, you get what? Second order neuron here. Second order neuron. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
You get the second order neuron from the anterior horn. So from anterior horn, in the second order neuron, see one or two segments, within one or two segments above the entry level, they cross to the opposite side. So you can see it is crossing to the opposite side. The spinal thalamic tract, the crossing happens almost at the level of the entry itself. Got it? So if there is a transaction above, the problem is manifestation on the
Contralateral side.
opposite side. Contralateral. Yeah, very good word. Contralateral word. That is the correct word. Contralateral. So spinal thalamic tract. There is a loss of sensation on the contralateral side. With respect to the posterior column, the loss of sensation is on the ipsilateral side. One more thing you got to know here with respect to dorsal column is this nucleus gracilis. This contains fibers of the lower limb. Nucleus cutaneous, this contains mostly on the upper limb, because the medial the neurons from the body, they go more medial as the body goes down. So the gracilis, the medial nucleus of the dorsal column in the medulla oblongata, it contains what? Lower limb fibers. Of course, the tract also. Tractus, what is dorsal root gracilis tract? It also contains lower limb neurons, whereas the cutaneous contains upper limb neurons. You should know that. With respect to the dorsal column, this can be an MCQ. So I think so you are more or less convinced about these two tracks, because when you want to answer any questions related to the spinal cord, you need to have a sound anatomy, neural anatomy. Otherwise, you end up with picking a wrong choice in the exam. I'll just move to the next slide. If you got any doubts, you ask me here. Any doubts?
No, sir.
Okay, then I'll go to the next slide. Now, indications for ventrolateral corrective. Why? When it is actually it is when the patient is having severe pain, this is advised. Like in malignancy, terminal cases, you give any type of anesthetics till the patient is having pain. This is done. Type of sensation lost on the same side of Brown-Sequard syndrome. What is Brown-Sequard syndrome? Can anybody tell me? What is Brown-Sequard syndrome?
Sir,
Dissection of spinal cord.
transverse section of the spinal cord, sir.
Full or half?
Sir, half. Sir.
Partial.
Hemi-transaction, man. Use proper words. This is a spinal cord. My diagrams may not be that good. This is the medial line, and this is, I will draw like this. See, you can see my diagram.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Now, if there is this part, this is, if there it is, it can be called Brown-Sequard syndrome. Hemi-transaction of the spinal cord. Okay.
Proprioception will be lost.
What?
Proprioception will be lost.
Yeah. Same side means what? The type of sensation lost on the same side. Otherwise, ipsilateral. What do you expect? See, there. See here the pain. Now there are 2-3 ways of solving this MCQ. One is by knowing the theory properly. This is a proprioception is a correct answer, as is said. Now you look at his pain, touch, temperature. Pain is carried by what? Spinothalamic. Am I correct? Touch,
Yes.
both crude and fine both. Okay. Touch is
Sir,
both.
it is
What?
it is not mentioned the touch
It is not
spinal.
mentioned. Yeah. That's why I'm
How
taking
can
that way.
rule out, sir?
Yeah. So you got to think of that also. So touch he has given because you are supposed to pick up the best choice. Best choice. You end up using ticking this answer. Of course, touch has got both crude and fine touch. So if he has not specified which touch, you keep this as the second choice of answer. The best would be proprioception, which is definitely carried by the dorsal column, which goes ipsilaterally. And temperature definitely goes on the spinothalamic. The right answer is proprioception. Now, there is one more tract called as spinocerebellar tract. This spinocerebellar tract, it connects to the cerebellum. It is, there is a proprioception. You know what is a Romberg sign?
Sir,
This proprioception carried by spinocerebellar tract is what? It is unconscious proprioception because it is projected to the what? Cerebellar cortex. Whereas this dorsal column, proprioception, it is to the cerebral cortex, which is a conscious thing. So spinocerebellar tracts, it deals with the unconscious what? Proprioception. So this is it goes on the ipsilateral side actually. Actually, it has got bilateral representation. So now comes here. Now comes here, and this now contains bilateral. See, in opposite side also, it's ending, it is going on this side. This is going and ending on this side. And it goes to the cerebellum. There are two types of spinocerebellar tract, anterior and posterior. Okay, both of them are bundled in and called as spinocerebellar pathway. It gets input from bilaterally. Okay.
yes, sir.
Somebody has joined. I will admit him. Okay. Okay. We'll go to this most pyramidal tract. What is a pyramidal tract? These are the tracts which all I discussed just now. They are all ascending tracts. Because sensation moves from outside to upwards. These are one-way pathways. Either, okay, sensation moves from the periphery to the brain. These are ascending pathways. This is pyramidal tract is descending. Okay, they are motor, descending pathways. So it originates from this pyramidal tract originates from what? Cerebral cortex, motor cortex. Yeah, from here the fibers originate. From this they get concentrated at the level of internal capsule. From there they are projected down to the brain stem here in the midbrain, the cerebellar peduncle. From they go down up to the medulla. In the medulla, at the level of the pyramids, these tracts, motor tracts, cross to the opposite side. So the crossing of this pyramidal tracts happens at the level of the medulla, inside the brain, medulla. Okay. Of course, some fibers do go on the ipsilaterally. In the spinal cord, these pyramidal tracts are in two forms. One is a lateral corticospinal tract, which form the major bulk, and anterior anterior corticospinal tract, which forms a very small segment. 90 to 95%, 90% of the fibers goes to the opposite side, and few of them descend down anteriorly, ipsilaterally. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So as they are getting crossed at the level of the midbrain, if there is hit in the spinal cord, the manifestation is contralateral or ipsilateral.
Contralateral.
These are the tracks which the flow is downwards, madam. Huh?
Ipsilateral.
See, you are cutting the fibers after crossing. See, you are taken a loan. Now, the loan person gives you money. After receiving money, if theft occurs, who will lose? The person who has received or who has paid? Did I confuse you? Huh?
No, sir. No, sir.
No, sir.
See, for example, just a joke now. You receive money from somebody. Huh? After receiving, if theft occurs, the received person has lost money or paid person lost money?
Received money.
Received
Received
person,
person.
yeah. After crossing, if there's a cut, then ipsilateral loss, na?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's it. Remember that analogy. It confuses, I know that. Huh? So after crossing, you're cutting see the crossing is happening in the medulla oblongata. But you're cutting the spinal cord below in the spinal you're cutting the spinal cord which is after crossing. So the person who has received or ipsilaterally, there is a problem. So pyramidal tracts lesions in the spinal cord are ipsilateral. Pyramidal tract lesion above this medulla oblongata are contralateral.
Contralateral.
Okay. If you get a lesion in the hold on a second,
Medulla.
medulla oblongata, it could be ipsilateral. Yeah. If you get a lesion up above in the cortex, or in the internal capsule, or in the midbrain, then you'll get a contralateral hemiparesis. Okay.
Yes, sir.
You followed it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, Brown-Sequard syndrome. We'll discuss about Brown-Sequard syndrome now. So, in the Brown disease, these two are for sensory. This is for motor. Okay. Sensory loss on the ipsilateral side, which are related to the posterior column. They are fine touch, vibration, position. Contralateral is which related to spinothalamic tract. They are pain, temperature, and crude touch. Okay. Same thing. What all I discussed now, they are given here. And motor is you get a pyramidal human paralysis on the same side. Because it is a disease of the spinal cord. Human paralysis, there is as in human paralysis, you know that there is spasticity and Robinesky sign is positive or extensor plantar. Okay. Am I clear? Shall I move to the next slide?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Which of the following is true about Brown-Sequard syndrome? One more. Contralateral loss of joint sense and position. Is it true or
No,
false?
sir. False,
Yeah.
sir.
These two are posterior column sensations. It will be actually ipsilateral. So this is not a correct choice. Now, ipsilateral loss of complete sensory function.
No, sir.
Yeah. I hope somebody has joined. No. Yeah. Okay. Ipsilateral loss of, it is not ipsilateral. Some are contralateral, some are ipsilateral because there are two tracks which are having different behavior. Okay. There is a loss of kinesthesia on the same side.
Yes, sir. Correct, sir.
Kinesthesia is actually joint sense. Okay. Joint movement sense. Yeah, proprioception only. So this is ipsilateral answer. Okay. Now there is a contralateral loss of motor neuron. This is wrong because motor is also ipsilateral.
Same side.
Okay. I'll go to the next one.
Yes, sir.
Which of the following is not a feature of extramedullary tumor? Early corticospinal signs and paralysis. extramedullary, early corticospinal signs and paralysis, root pain or midline back pain, abnormal CSF, sacral sparing. Tell me.
Hmm.
Huh? Sacral sparing. Now, early corticospinal signs of paralysis. So actually the answer is this, sacral sparing. What happens is, now before this extramedullary tumor, how the tumors of the spinal cords are classified? Do you know that? Extra, there is one slide on this. Spinal cord tumors are extradural and intradural. So outside the dural matter and inside the dural matter. Okay. So spinal cord tumors are classified into extradural and intradural. This intradural is again subclassified into extramedullary and intramedullary. This is extramedullary means outside the spinal cord, of course within the dura. Extradural means, extramedullary means outside the spinal cord but within the dura. Intramedullary means inside the spinal cord itself. Okay, and it should remain inside the dura matter. Okay, of course, you can this thing you can understand. So extramedullary means outside the spinal cord but within the dura. Intramedullary means inside the spinal cord. Okay, extradural means outside the dural matter. You got this classification right? I'll go to the next slide.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So extradural. So the most of the tumors of the extradural are metastasis actually. Vertebral metastasis going into the spinal canal. Those things. Mets in the vertebra going into the spinal canal. These kidney, breast, prostate, lung cancer, all these things. And as they are involved in these bony structures and all these things, there is a back pain and all that stuff. Okay, you can expect that. Spinal cord, because the nerve roots it can compress because it's outside the spinal cord now. The nerve roots, which are ventral root and dorsal root, if they compress the dorsal root, it causes pain. Symptoms of cord. If it pressurizes the ventral root, it causes what? Paralysis. So symptoms of cord, and of course with the cord there is a nerve root compression also. Radicular pain you can get because of this. And treatment for these things are radiotherapy, because if the patient comes with mets in this spinal cord, means it is very advanced stage. Advanced stage. You can't do much. You can't do much for them. So you have to give them what? Radiotherapy. And do regress. They may regress also. Now we'll go to intradural tumors. As I told, intradural tumors are classified as extramedullary and of course intramedullary. Now, so these extramedullary tumors, they can cause vertebral pain because they're more outer. They will be touching the vertebral pain. They can cause. It is common. Whereas with respect to intramedullary tumors, which are deep inside, the vertebral pain is uncommon. Okay. In fact, these are more near to the central canal or spinal cord. What is central canal of the spinal cord? So in the central canal is there here.
Yes.
Inside the deep inside, there is a central canal. Here, the most of the tumors will be somewhere here. Here. Whereas what I said, extramedullary, they may be here. Okay. Now root. So because root pains are possible with extramedullary, because root pains which come out of spinal cord may get compressed by this extramedullary tumors. Whereas if at all if it occurs in intramedullary tumors, it is very late. It may be early here. Sorry, the rare here. root pains are rare, but they're very common with respect to extramedullary. Corticospinal tract involvement occurs early. In here it occurs late because these tumors, as I told you, they are more near the central canal. So let's tell you something. Spinal thalamic tracts are somewhere outside here. Sorry, corticospinal tracts are here. So that these tumors reaching up till here, it may take a longer time. Whereas if the tumor is somewhere here, they can compress it very early. So the corticospinal tract occurs early, whereas it occurs late here. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Sacral sparing. The sacral sensations are lost in extramedullary. That's lost in extramedullary. One thing you got to know. Hold on, I'll draw nicely for you people. Okay, you can see this.
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is a posterior horn. Now the spinal thalamic tract, which comes here, lateral spinal thalamic tract, lateral spinal thalamic tract, the sacral fibers are placed in the outer aspect, and after that lumbar fibers come. After that, what? Thoracic. After that, cervical. I'm talking about cervical cord now. Up, I'm very high up. So sacral fibers are placed almost outside. So these tumors reaching here, intramedullary tumors reaching up till here and compressing, what happens? This is very unlikely. You're getting me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I'm talking about sacral sparing is meant for this pain, pain sensation. Loss of pain sensation happens very late in the case of intramedullary tumors. Where the extramedullary tumors, it can. Okay. So in extramedullary tumors, the sacral sparing is not there. There is a loss of sacral sensation. Whereas intramedullary tumors, there can be these sensations may be what?
It's fair.
Lost. They're lost. Okay. Because sacral fibers are located outside.
Yes, sir.
So paresthesias are less common, where are more common here. Dissociate anesthesia is present here. Why do you get dissociate anesthesia? Why do you get dissociate anesthesia? In intramedullary tumors, okay. Did I? Okay, I'll draw nicely for you. My diagrams are not that good. I was seeing a Nazir's Nazir's lectures. He draws very nicely.
Yes, sir.
This is central canal. Now, what I was telling about?
Sir,
Dissociative.
dissociate and
Dissociate, yeah. Dissociate anesthesia. What is dissociate anesthesia? Loss of pain, but present touch. Okay. In dissociate anesthesia, pain sensation is lost, but touch sensation is preserved. Touch sensation is preserved because it is carried from here. Okay. Okay. But whereas intramedullary tumors, these tracts, what happens? They cross. Spinal thalamic tracts, they cross and come here. When these tumors are, they can compress. Okay. These tumors can compress. There could be dissociate anesthesia in case of intramedullary tumors. This is the reason. Same reason is there even for syringomyelia. It is same reason. Because anything that comes more medial, there will be a patch of a dissociate anesthesia. Okay, because in the medial there is a spinal thalamic tract fibers that connected to that relevant dermatome, or they will get compressed. So in that patch, you can have dissociate anesthesia. It is patch, not all below. It may be present in intramedullary tumors. What is Lerman sign? What is Lerman
Sir,
sign? What is Lerman sign, man?
shock-like sensation, sir.
Yeah, on fluxing, there is a shock-like sensation passing down the spinal cord and up, of course, in the upper limb. It happens whenever there is a what? Large tumor, raised pressure there. So it is more common extramedullary, less common here. Autonomic bladder involvement. It occurs very late here, but it is early here. Okay. A CSF, because there is a high pressure, CSF will have more proteins. It is normal here. These things just remember. So the what was the question? Which of the following is not a feature of extramedullary tumor? Early corticospinal tract and paralysis. Yeah, it is possible because that these tracts are situated more peripherally. Root pains and back pain is possible because this tumor is more outside. Abnormal CSF because of high increased pressure, it can happen there. Whereas sacral sparing is a feature of intramedullary tumor. Huh? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, causes of a Lermont sign. These slides are anyway available. You just go through. These are the things I got it from some journal actually. They are there. Just go through that. Clinical features of conus medullaris syndrome include all of the following except. What is conus medullaris syndrome? Where do you get conus medullaris? Which part of
Sir,
the central nervous
the
system it is there?
end of the spinal cord.
Yeah, it is a terminal bulky end. It is in fact enlarged. Terminal ending of the spinal cord is more bulkier. So that part is called as conus medullaris. You know that we humans have got 33 vertebrae, but our spinal cord ends at what level? At what level it ends, man?
L1,
Sir,
L2.
L1
L1,
and L2.
L1, L2 junction, yeah. See, the spinal cord is shorter, but the vertebral column is longer. Got it? Spinal cord ends at the level of L1 and
L1, L2.
L2. Below the spinal cord, what you have? Chorda equina. Okay. Here is the diagram. You can see this. This here. This is the ending of spinal cord. You have got a spinal cord. Terminal bulky part is called as conus medullaris. Below the spinal cord, what you are all seeing this part now? This all.
Or
This is called chorda equina. This is chorda equina. What it contains, chorda equina?
The hair-like fiber.
All those were spinal peripheral nerves. All the peripheral nerves, what? After L1, which are supposed to, they see all the spinal cord ends at L1. The spinal nerve, this, they come out at their appropriate what you care vertebral foramen only. Here only they come out. See, S1 comes at the L1, L2, it comes down. L3, this is of course, this is L1 means L2, L3, L4, L5. Then comes sacral. S1, S2, S3, S4, S5. Then last one is coxax1. Okay. See, these nerves are coming down. They come down and go. These are all what? They are UMN or LMN. They are LMN. Got it? Lower
Yes,
motor
sir.
neurons these are. Or first order neurons. With respect to the sensory system, these are all first order neurons. Or lower motor. In general, I put it as this is not actually a part of central nervous system. In other words, If you just want to put it that way. Okay, these are all peripheral nerves, like, huh? These are all peripheral nerves. So, if the disease is happening with respect to this, you get LMN paralysis or UMN paralysis.
Elements.
So, the disease of this quada equina happens, it will be LMN. If there is a disease of UMN, conus medullaris, predominantly the UMN, and some LMN also can be accompanied, because these some fibers which are coming down from above, they can get compressed at that level. So there is both UMN and LMN. Okay. So disease of the quada equina is LMN. Disease of the conus medullaris is both UMN and LMN. Okay, it is a combination. What is this phylum terminale? Phylum terminale is the one, it is a dural-like matter which is tied to the coax like a string, to hold the spinal cord in space. Okay.
Yes, sir.
This one. Okay, now we'll try to understand what is a conus medullaris and quada equina. Okay, here the symptoms. See, what? Conus medullaris is, as I told, it is both UMN and LMN, whereas quada equina is only LMN. If there is a damage, disease affecting this, then so if it is UMN and LMN, what do you say, conus medullaris, what sort of signs you will see? So Babinski, what do you expect in a conus medullaris? It will be positive because it is UMN. A knee jerk is exaggerated, and ankle jerk may be decreased because it is a combination. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Whereas the quada equina, Babinski sign is negative, and knee jerk and ankle jerk both are decreased. It is only element type because of that. Pain in conus medullaris, pain is minimal. Bilateral, and because you are affecting the conus medullaris, which is a one entity like thing, the manifestations can be bilateral, symmetrical. Whereas the quada equina means it is a loose thing, so manifestation may happen unilateral. Okay, and the pain, because it's involving the peripheral nerve, the pain is more severe, significant, and in the bilateral involvement, and it is the involvement is in the perineum and high thigh. That is a saddle type of distribution, it will be basically. Why this conus medullaris affects perineum and inner part of the thigh? Only.
Sir, it involves sacral fiber.
Yeah, the terminal part of the spinal cord is nothing but the upper motor neuron part of sacral dermatomes. Okay, so if that is damaged, the sacral areas, what are sacral areas? They distribute saddle. I'll show the dermatomes later. How all the sacral nerves, they gluteal region, inner part of the perineum, they are all supplied by sacral nerves. So the conus medullaris, which is a lesion affecting this part of the spinal cord, so those dermatomes are affected, saddle type. Whereas conus quada equina, it is all those which things are below L1, L3, L4, L5, L6. All these nerves are involved. You got it?
Yes, sir.
Got it. So the paralysis or the central system affected is huge. Thigh, leg, back, everything. Okay. Now one thing you should know, the lesion which is below will produce a more profound signs, whereas conus medullaris, which is the lesion which is above, produce less signs. That is a confusion or a thing you should remember with respect to conus medullaris and quada equina is a lesion which is below will produce more profound signs in the form of paralysis, wheel bound, and sensory loss over the leg, thigh, saddle, everything. Whereas with respect to the conus medullaris, Although the lesion is above, still the signs and may be symmetrical, but they are less severe. So conus medullaris patients are not usually wheel bound, whereas these patients may be wheel bound, wheelchair bound. Huh? Okay. One thing. That's one. So I said, as I was telling you, conus medullaris will produce saddle type distribution, bilateral symmetrical, and they are going to dissociate. Loss. If at all, if it is the lesion is central. Dissociate. And saddle type anesthesia distribution, along with that, everything will be there here. Maybe unilateral or symmetrical. No dissociated sensor loss here. They are all peripheral nerves because of that. Motor loss, symmetrical, not marked. Asymmetric, very marked, but. Asymmetrical, very marked with respect to cauda equina. And bladder and bowel and sexual dysfunction happens here early, whereas it happens late here. Onset, sudden and bilateral. Because small areas need to be involved. This is a big area to be involved because these all nerves are distributed. So it is a gradual and asymmetric cauda equina. Early loss of bladder and bowel control is seen in what? Where?
Conus medullaris.
Yeah, just now we discussed. We'll go there. Amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, bowel and bladder usually preserved. That's the reason. Cauda equina late it is. Hypotension in acute spinal cord injury is due to. Hypotension in acute spinal cord injury is due to loss of sympathetic
Loss
tone.
of sympathetic.
Yeah.
Loss of sympathetic
Yeah.
tone.
See, the normally what happens is, hold on, I'll say something. This is the hypothalamus. Suppose hypothalamus, and below the hypothalamus you got what? What is this? Pituitary gland. Yeah, the pituitary gland. This hypothalamus is divided into ventromedial and what? Posterolateral areas. Okay. So ventromedial and posterolateral areas. From here the input comes. So both sympathetic and parasympathetic. So the sympathetic, usually parasympathetic, sympathetic there is a what? Activation. Parasympathetic deactivation it is. Because if there is a sympathetic hyperactivity, parasympathetic there is a activity is decreased. So the whenever the hypothalamus is stimulated, there is an inhibition of what? Parasympathetic activity. Whenever this sympathetic, if there is a discharge for sympathetic activity, it is a stimulation of sympathetic activity and inhibition of what? Parasympathetic activity. So if there is a reduction in the sympathetic activity, there is a loss of inhibition of parasympathetic activity. Okay, if there is a for sympathetic, it is signal center still stimulatory. Parasympathetic, removing the inhibition or not, like that it is. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Like that it is. So that's one thing. Just I want to tell, which may not be directly related to this, of course. So when the spinal cord is transacted, what happens? So the sympathetic outflow, which is coming from the brain, will be lost, and parasympathetic inhibition, is also lost. Got it? So if the sympathetic tone is gone, sympathetic outflow is lost, the vessels become vasodilated. All the vasodilatation. There is a loss of, in fact, it is called loss of vasoconstriction. Sympathetic, that's what happens. So there is a hypotension, and this is without tachycardia. So in a case of neuro, what are the types of shock? Hypovolemic, cardiogenic, neurogenic, Yeah, in neurogenic type of shock, what happens is, there is
Hypotension
a
without
hypotension. Yeah, in hypotension without tachycarditis. Okay, huh? So loss of sympathetic tone happens. That is spinal cord injury. Now we'll learn something about autonomic nervous system in brief. So as I told, the autonomic nervous system is predominantly parasympathetic and sympathetic, and some people even say there's an enteric sympathetic system. I'll not go much about that. We'll just focus on these two, which are more relevant with exams in examination perspective. Okay, these are on this side we got a sympathetic description. On this side is the parasympathetic description. One thing you know, both of them that they will descend down from the brain. Okay, but the sympathetic activity comes out of the central nervous system from T1 to what L2. Only in this area, these sympathetic activity fibers come out of the spinal cord, and they will not come out of the central nervous system above or below these areas. So sympathetic they come here only in this area. After coming out, they ascend, descend, and cause all those changes in the body. So sympathetic activity of the brain going out of central system is between T1 to L2. Between that, afterwards they form a chain. There is a chain here. They form a ganglion here. They're all ganglions here. These ganglions will be there. These ganglions will ascend up and go to brain, go to what is saliva, go to heart, and all that. They go down from here. They go down from L2. They go down even to the bladder, which is well below at the sacral level. They go to the bladder. They also go to adrenal medulla, liver, and all that. You should know this. So sympathetic activity. The question is, sympathetic nerves on the spinal cord comes from T1 to L2. Above and below is not possible. Okay. This is all ganglionics. Of course, these are ganglions. They are called paravertebral. They are what? Paravertebral. There is something called as prevertebral. What are prevertebral ganglions? Prevertebral in front of the celiac ganglion, mesenteric ganglion. All prevertebral ganglions. There are paravertebral ganglions from these levels of T1 to L2, which I was telling you. So the sympathetic nervous system is formed by this on the sympathetic side. Of course, I think so you should read more about it, because these nerves coming out now, they form nerves coming out from the spinal cord, in the spinal cord now. I'll just show that. Okay, this is a spinal cord. Not a very good diagram. Okay, here spinal cord. They come from the brain in a polysynaptic pathway, and here the lateral horn. They form a lateral horn in the appropriate areas, that between T1 to L2. They come descend here and they terminate here. Terminate here, and as a descending pathways, they go out anterolaterally in the anterior horn. In the dorsal root they come out. In the dorsal root they come out. Sorry, anterior, not dorsal. What? Ventral or anterior root they come out, and here this anterior root they come out here. Then from here they are sent. Here. Okay, this is how they come out, and they form a ganglion here. That is paravertebral ganglion. You read about the sympathetic nervous system, and there may be questions about that. Paravertebral ganglions, prevertebral ganglions, all those things. I think so. It will be better covered in anatomic classes. But just go through. There is a good Nazir videos. I'll put the link. Just see that. It is a bit lengthier, but still it is worth. You should know that actually. And parasympathetic system now. This starts coming out above and below. It doesn't come at this level. Above only. This vagus nerve is the biggest parasympathetic nerve, which is supplying the most organs in the liver. It all separates, but of course, bladder is supplied from the sacral here. They come out here. So among the abdominal structures, bladder is not from vagus. Bladder is not from vagus. Vagus is heart, lung, GIT, liver. Vagus parasympathetic. And vagus nerve stimulation produces what? Secretion. All secretions of the fluids. That's all. Now here this is a ciliary ganglion. It will go and supply the eye and a tongue for secretion of saliva. These are parasympathetic system. This is in very brief about autonomic nervous system. So what was the question? So hypotension, okay, that's about it. So neurogenic shock is produced due to loss of sympathetic tone. It results of the lesions of the descending sympathetic pathway of the spinal cord. Hypotension without tachycardia, without peripheral vasoconstriction. It is without peripheral vasoconstriction. So if there is a hypotension, you expect vasoconstriction, but in fact there could be vasodilatation. Vasodilatation with bradycardia, you may be dealing with the what? Neurogenic shock. Spinal shock. What is spinal shock? This has got multiple answers. Tell me what is spinal shock? Hello? You people are there? You're hearing
Yes,
me?
sir. Yes, sir.
Spinal shock is characterized by what? Do you get spasticity in a spinal shock? Wasting. So these two signs are they manifest slowly. These two slowly. Whereas there could be urinary retention, there could be areflexia. So whenever there is acute damage to the central nervous system, it in fact behaves like a what? Element type of paralysis. Element type of paralysis. But as the time spends, the tissues come out of the what? Shock, and there is a manifestation of UMN. So this is nothing but spinal shock. So you get what? You may get urinary retention, you may get sensory loss also, you may get areflexia. But these two things are not seen when there is a spinal shock. So if these things are seen, that means patient has come out of spinal shock. Wasting is a feature of what? Element paralysis.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
In spinal shock, although there is a hyporeflexia, you don't get wasting. One is because spinal shock is a short-term disease. Okay. And in UMN paralysis, you don't get wasting. Spinal shock is a disease of the UMN, not element.
Spasticity.
So loss of reflexes following the acute cord injury, duration of shock is variable, in fact. Cervical cord injury does not cause what? Cervical cord injury does not cause Horner syndrome, loss of sensation over face, spasticity of foot, wasting with fasciculations of lower limb. Answer this.
Sir.
Can you get Horner syndrome? What is Horner syndrome?
Sir,
Okay, I'll come to Horner syndrome later. Is there a loss of sensation of face?
So it is due to paraneoplastic lung tumor.
What?
Paraneoplastic syndrome for lung tumor, sir.
That is one of the reasons for Horner syndrome.
Right.
Because the nerves, as I just told you, the nerves of the sympathetic system, they arise from T1, they form a ganglion and ascend up and go and supply eye. So
Ptosis.
even thoracic structures can involve eye because of this. Here in this diagram, see in this diagram it is there. So these nerves, the sympathetic system, they are coming out of a T1 and they are supplying the eye here. You can see. So the lung disease here somewhere in the tract, that can cause damage. So the ciliary, all the this is the reason why Horner syndrome manifests. Even the lung apical lung tumors, why they cause Horner syndrome is because the T1 fibers come here and ascend up and supply the eye. That's the reason. So the what Pankos tumor, right? It's called. Huh?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And
Why Horner syndrome is seen? Pankos tumor is because the sympathetic system comes out at the T1 and goes up into the head and supply. That's the reason. What do you expect? So Horner syndrome because of that. Loss of sensation over face. Why cervical cord injury should cause a loss of sensation over face?
no, sir.
It doesn't.
Does not, sir.
So sensation of the face is by supplied by what nerve?
Right, yes, sir.
Trigeminal nerve, man. So midbrain, sorry, hold on. I'll draw nicely. Midbrain, pons, then medulla, then spinal cord. Okay, upper spinal cord. Huh? Okay, I think so. I have put a diagram here. The trigeminal nerve, at the level of pons, it has got two nuclei. One is motor, one is sensory, and of course, it has got what? This nucleus extends into the midbrain, and also it has got one more going up to cervical cord. This is a big nucleus. Trigeminal nerve nucleus extends from midbrain to the cervical cord. Is a big nucleus here. So if it is damage in the cervical high cervical cord, you can have loss of sensation over the face because of this. Okay, this is a motor nucleus which is suspended in the pons. Okay, of course, and sensory nucleus is present here. These fibers which are coming down the spinal cord, they supply what pain and temperature. This one is touch. This is what proprioception. This is motor. I think I have mentioned. I have got a beautiful diagram. I'll show that. Loss of sensation is there over the face. It happens. Spasticity of foot. So, with respect to the foot, cervical cord injury is a UMN or LMN? Hello? It's a
UMN.
simple thing. I expect you to answer this.
UMN.
UMN, yeah. It is a UMN. With respect to the cervical cord, the foot is a UMN. So, spasticity of foot can happen. So, this is possible. Now, in a case of cervical cord injury, if you are getting UMN paralysis for the lower limb, do you get wasting?
No, sir.
Wasting. And where do you get fasciculations? UMN or LMN? Fasciculations where you get, man? Last class I have discussed.
LMN.
Motor neuron.
LMN, yeah. Motor neuron disease, classical. Fasciculations everybody gets. So because the lesion is in the cervical cord, fasciculations cannot happen. Because for lower limb, it is a UMN. So this is a wrong answer. So cervical cord injury does not means this is the answer. Now this is a trigeminal nucleus. Yeah, see nice diagram. See this is a motor nucleus. This is a sensory nucleus, and this fiber. What is this fiber? What is fiber? It is what is this? Proprioception. Proprioception is in the upper part, and this one is what? This is a touch. Pons is for touch, whereas cervical cord is pain and temperature. Okay, so the lesion of the high cervical cord can cause loss of pain and temperature over the face because of this nucleus. Now something about Horner syndrome. The pupil size is decreased, dropping of eyelid. That is ptosis. Partial. Yeah, good, very good. Partial. That is sympathetic supply is the one which takes care of eyelid. Closes, because of that, and a decrease sweating on the one side of the face, and eyeball sunken. These are the features of Horner syndrome. An unconscious patient is brought to the emergency department with the suspected cervical cord injury. Which of the following clinical sign is not suggestive of cervical cord injury? So unconscious patient is unconscious, is brought to the emergency department with the suspected cervical cord injury. Which of the following?
Cervical cords are
What?
mainly for upper motor neuron disease.
The unconscious patient is brought to emergency department with the suspected cervical cord injury. Now, if this patient has cord injury, so if you get an injury patient, it is acute event or a chronic event? Acute event or chronic event? Injury,
Acute, sir.
man.
Acute, sir.
So there is a possibility of spinal shock or no?
Yes, sir.
Then there could be flaccidity because of it, na?
Yes, sir.
Now,
Diaphragmatic breathing
increase,
also. Diaphragmatic breathing also there, sir.
diaphragmatic breathing also, that can be there. What is priapism? What is priapism? Painful erection of penis is called as priapism. So can you get priapism in case of cervical cord injury?
Yes, sir.
Because see, the erection happens because of increased blood supply. You are getting it? Erection,
sir.
increased blood supply. The sympathetic stimulation which is coming from the spinal cord will cause vasoconstriction. All down. Fine. If there is a loss of this sympathetic supply going down, so vasodilatation will cause increased blood flow into the penis and that causes erection because of that. You got it?
Yes, sir.
So if there is a spinal cord injury, and if that is a cause of death, there could be death erection or also ejaculation. These things can happen. You should know this. So it has got a medical legal importance. So if the soon after that somebody is dead, due to spinal cord injury, maybe hanging. If the person is seen immediately, if you're suspecting whether this person is hanged after killing or by hanging ending up with a spinal cord injury, then this erection can be checked, death erection. If it is there, it suggests there is a spinal cord injury which led to death. Or else if there is no erection, probably the cause of death could be something else. It has got medico legal. Death erection has got a medico legal importance. Got it? Of course,
Yes,
all people who are hanged do not die because of spinal cord injury. They can die because of carotid artery injury, bleeding, and all that. That can happen. Of course, if there is, that is also possible. By hanging, the patient may not have erection. But if there is a death erection, you can think the spinal cord injury is the cause of death. Okay? You understood this?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it has got a medical legal importance. Non-conscious patient have brought. So in this case, this increased rectal tone, there is a flaccidity of the rectal tone. They lose the tone.
Decreased, sir.
Answer. This is not a feature of it. A cervical cord injury, there could be flaccidity because of spinal shock. Flaccid rectal tone will be there. Hypotension and bradycardia is possible because of neurogenic shock. Diaphragmatic breathing, priapism, as I said. Ability to flux, but not to extend. Response to eliciting painful stimuli above the clavicle, but not below the clavicle. That is because sternum and above, they come from C3, 4 and all that. Causes of acute flaccid paralysis include all poliomyelitis, tick paralysis, all of them will cause flaccid paralysis.
Yes, sir.
Peripheral nerve disease, na? Poliomyelitis, all these are peripheral. What is Beaver sign?
Sir, upward movement of the umbilicus, sir. Due to
When?
loss, due to
When?
loss,
On
due to
flexing the neck.
weakness. Yes, sir. Weakness of the abdominal muscle. Due to.
Yeah. Below the umbilicus, the muscles are paralyzed. When somebody flexes the neck, the upper abdominal muscles will contract. So the umbilicus will move up. If the unilateral paralysis, it can shift to sideways also. Okay. The umbilicus is at a T10. Okay. If the lesion, lower abdominal lesions is at the level of T10, so the upper part of the abdominal muscles are intact, whereas lower part of the abdominals are paralyzed. The abdominal muscle. I think I have a video. You can see that. I hope it runs. It's not running, man. It's not running. So when the contacts same umbilicus will move. I don't know why it's not running. So T10 whatever myelopathy. So there is a old man when he fluxes his umbilicus moves up in this case. It's not somehow not running. Okay. A patient involved in the road traffic accident presents with the quadriparesis, sphincter disturbance, sensor level up to upper border of the sternum. Respiratory rate is 35. The likely lesion is where? C1, C2, C4, C5, T1, T2, T3, T4. Where? Where? Why nobody answering? Have students left? How many
No,
are
sir.
there? There. Only many are left. Anyway. Yeah. Himanshu. Himanshu, speak man.
Yes.
Satvik. Smriti. Akash. Huh? Tell. Huh? See, it is the answer is C3, T4, C4, C5. I'll show the diagram. You should remember this diagram. Because they can ask you. Okay. Now
Yes.
we'll see. This is a face. You can see face. This is all supplied by trigeminal nerve. Okay. Okay.
Yes.
This is trigeminal nerve. Here you can see C2 coming here, peeping up at the top, and posteriorly C2 is there. Okay. Occipital part C2, C3, and C4 somewhere here. See occipital. C2 and C3 is occipital. C4 in the neck. You can see C4
Yes,
is
sir.
here. C4 and C5, C6, C7 and all these three forms brachial plexus. Okay. So C4 and C5 they see here C4 posteriorly over the posterior aspect of the neck, anteriorly above the clavicle. Clavicle is here. So you can see the clavicle here. This is a clavicle. So C4 comes here. So from C4, this part, this section is upper limb. Okay, brachial plexus C5, 6, 7, 8, T1. Okay, brachial plexus. You can see that. Will come down. T2 from axilla and down. T2, T3, T4, T5, T6. It come here. And L1 up till here. T12 it comes here. Whereas L1 is in the inguinal area. L2, L3, L4, L5. So you can see like strips on the leg. It rotates. S1 comes here. It is rotating. So this it is going like this. The number is going like this. Posteriorly, when you come here, T12 is I think so above the iliac bone. Posteriorly. Okay. L2, L3, L4, L5, S1. Now all this sacrum they are on in the buttock here and perineum. S1, S2, S3, S4, S1. S1 is bigger. It supplies the gluteum and a posterior part of the what? Thigh and leg. This is S2. This is something you should remember. S2 supplies the larger area. You can see that. And inner it will come again L1, L2. So S1 also comes out like this. Here, lateral aspect. Middle, lateral, L5 comes like this. Okay. You remember this diagram, you'll be able to pick up many things. The questions may they may twist questions around this. You try to remember this diagram. Okay. Now this is the answer for this C4. Okay. In this case C4 C5. This is the answer. Check this diagram. This is a good diagram. I picked it from some internet. Anterior spinal artery thrombosis is characterized by all except what? Loss of pain and touch, loss of vibration sense, loss of power in the limb, sphincter dysfunction. Which of them is not possible? So anterior means anterior, which is the posterior most vibration and vibration sense. This is the answer.
Also vibration test.
Yeah. So anterior spinal artery thrombosis will produce this, because this is the most posterior aspect. So this is a diagram here. So anterior spinal artery thrombosis will produce damage so much. All these things is gone. So this is paired. Okay. These are all spinothalamic, cortical tracts, everything come anteriorly, whereas the dorsal column you have got other things. 35-year-old male present with numbness over the neck. On examination, decreased pain and temperature sensation is found in the distribution of C4, C5. There is a loss of pain and temperature on the sensations found in the distribution of C4, C5. Cannular function examination is normal. Bladder bowel control is normal. What is the diagnosis? Amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. Can it be?
Yes, sir.
Do you get sensor nerve involvement in motor neuron disease? It is motor.
Motor weakness, sir.
Then I am talking about there is a loss of sensation here, decreased pain and temperature. You don't get, man. It is a motor neuron disease. Motor only. It doesn't affect the sensor system. So this is not the answer. Then we have got intramedullary tumor. Did I tell you about dissociative anesthesia? Intramedullary. I told you,
Intermedullary mainly, sir, lower motor neuron.
Intramedullary tumor, that is conus medullaris, man. You are confusing conus medullaris, upper motor, neuron motor. I am talking about intramedullary, extramedullary tumors. So intramedullary tumors do have a dissociate anesthesia. Of course, conus medullaris can also have because of these reasons only again. Okay, but quada equina will not have that dissociate anesthesia. The intramedullary tumors can have dissociate anesthesia because
because of
why?
involvement of hypothalamic tract.
Okay, there's central canal here. There's a crossing of fibers, spinal thalamic tract. It's going here. It can get compressed here. Okay, because of that you can have loss of these two sensations, and this may be spared. Posterior column, it may be spared. This is the one thing. Neurosyphilis doesn't produce like this. Okay. What is acute inflammatory demyelinating polyneuropathy? It produces diffuse. Usually GB syndrome. It's not loss of sensation. It will be loss of power also. Okay. Intramedullary tumor. Now, same table which I had put before, I copied it here once more. I think so. Dissociative anesthesia, where I put intramedullary. Dissociative anesthesia. Intramedullary present. Amyotrophic lateral is a motor neuron, both AOMN and LMN. It doesn't cause sensory system involvement. The neurosyphilis can involve spine, tears processes, limit sensor ataxia. There is a sensor ataxia here. So that means posterior column involvement. Sensor ataxia. Urinary incontinence, not pain and temperature. AIDP, Guillain-Barré syndrome. That is also called as, it presents with the ascending paralysis, paraplegia later leading to quadriplegia with or without diaphragmatic paralysis. We'll discuss about GB syndrome in some class. It is a topic to be discussed. Okay. 28-year-old smoker, construction worker. Smoker and a construction worker presents with a low back pain. The pain worsens on standing and improves with sitting. Reflexes are diminished in the right lower limb with the absence of sensations in both lower limbs. What is the likely diagnosis? Lumbar canal stenosis, occlusio aortoiliac disease, tethered cord syndrome, vertebral metastasis. What do you think? So, are you dealing with Mets? Is it Mets, sir? Metastasis? 28 year, no, unlikely. Yeah. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah, 28 is unlikely. Of course, for smoker, I can have lung cancer and have Mets. It's possible. But that is not the one thing. He has got a one thing, low back pain is there. There is something called as improving with the Vasasan standing and improve the sitting. There is a positional change. There is a positional change, which is not a feature of metastasis. They don't change like that. Okay. Reflexes are diminished in the lower limb. Okay, so this is unlikely. Tethered cord syndrome is what? What is tethered cord syndrome? Anybody tell me tethered cord syndrome? The spinal terminal, if it is attaching to the coccyx, it will become more shorter and the spinal cord is more tightly knotted to the coccyx. Okay. What is spinal terminale? What is spinal terminale?
Attachment of spinal cord into the coccyx.
Yeah, that's it. If that is short, you can have tethered cord syndrome. So what is occlusive aortoiliac disease? Lumbar canal stenosis are left. So if there is a arterial supply decreased, what sort of pain you can? What is called as claudication? Claudication. There are two types of claudication: neurogenic and vascular. Okay. Neurogenic claudication is not because of ischemia. It is because of nerve problem. Vascular is because of ischemia. So vascular claudication is a function of exertion. That is, ischemia manifests, the limbs start moving because there is a more demand for blood supply. That's what ischemia manifests. So there is a on exertion. If you get claudication, pain, and relieved by rest, then it is occlusive aortic disease. Whereas lumbar canal stenosis is basically a positional. If the patient stands, there can be disc. There are discs. What are discs? I think so. Dr. Hosan has taught you about disc and all that. These are vertebrae. In between, there is a cushion-like thing. And these are arches. Okay, there are arches. These discs can move into the spinal cord. They can slip. If it happens at the multiple levels, then the spinal canal, which is here posteriorly, becomes small. So it is called lumbar canal stenosis. Okay, the disc filling the space, multiple level, 2-3 level it happens, then lumbar canal stenosis. And this causes this symptom. Standing, it is a pain; sitting, it is a decreased. And reflexes could be lost because of what? Diminished. In right lower limb, because of nerve root compression, the reflexes could be lost. There is similarly loss of sensation can also happen. So there are all neurological complaints here. Loss of sensation, reflex, and all that. It's just more likely to be lumbar canal stenosis because of that. Now we'll see the difference between the claudications, vascular and neurogenic. So there is a fixed, because depending upon the blood supply, it is fixed distance. There's no distance here. Palliative factor is standing. If you take rest, standing, it reduces. Sitting and bending forward, because it increases the spinal canal diameter. Then bending forward especially will cause what? Decrease in pain. It is positional. Provoking factor, of course, is walking, and of course, in this case, is standing. Of course, could be walking also. Walkhill, uphill, painful, painless, bicycle test. All these things are there. You can go through them. Fine. What is correct about syringomelia? What is correct about syringomelia? What is syringomelia? What is syringomelia? Anybody?
Increase in the CSF, which causes central canal to bulge out.
No, it is central canal bulging, increasing the dilatation of central canal.
Yes.
And that could be because of increase in CSF pressure, all those things.
Because
There are
of
many
Arnold's
things.
law malformation.
There are many, There are many causes for syringomyelia. One of them is cherry malformations. Okay, the cause could be many. It could be arachnoiditis. There are many. Syringomyelia means dilatation of the central canal. That's it. Actually, it is not hydromyelia. It should be called, strictly speaking. This is spinal canal, now. Central canal. If it is enlarges like this, natively, it will be lined by what? Ependyma. Lining of this ependyma. If there is a damage here in the spinal cord, and if that communicates with the central canal, it will lined by what? Gliocytes. Or gliosis will happen.
Yes.
As in outside, it is a fibrosis. It will be gliosis inside. Okay, it will be gliosis. So syringomyelia could be lined by ependymal cells or by gliotic cells. Okay, the two things you should know. This syringomyelia is basically enlargement of this. So central things, dissociative anesthesia will be there. I discussed about it. Okay, syringomyelia means. Hold on, I'll try to. Okay, I'll draw here. What?
Spinothalamic tract will be involved as it is close to the central canal.
Because very good, very good. This is a spinal cord. So this there is a what? There is a crossing of fibers, na? This at the level of the syrinx, the crossing fibers will be damaged. So at the level of the syrinx, those dermatomes, there is a dissociate anesthesia. And syrinx are usually at the level of what? Cervical cord. So the loss of sensation is in the here. This is a part because cervical cord, there is a loss pressure here. You can see here cervical cord, and there's a nice diagram you see.
Ape-like sensory loss.
Yeah, dorsal horn is coming here. Second, and from here it is crossing. Second order neuron is crossing here. So syrinx, when it increases, it presses this nerve, and there is a contralateral what?
Loss of touch, temperature, pain, pressure.
Not pain, loss of pain and temperature, crude touch. Okay, this dissociate anesthesia. Of course, these could be these senses, fine touch, position sense could be what? Preserved. Okay, it could be preserved. So dissociate anesthesia will happen at the level of what? Syrinx. This is the initial stage. So at a later stage, what happens is syrinx enlarges further. Then you have got autonomic nerves here. So autonomic nervous system will get involved here now. So it will cause what? Bowel and bladder involvement. Okay. And still further, these pyramidal tracts, lateral spinothalamic tract, of course. And then involved lateral spinothalamic tract, sensor loss will be down also. But then here got what? Pyramidal tract. Sorry, pyramidal tract till they get involved. There is a what? Weakness. There is a weakness. Paralysis will be there in the lower limb. Okay. Dissociate anesthesia here and a loss of power here. They are the syringomyelia features. Okay. Cherry malformations. So cherry malformations cause syringomyelia because this is spinal cord now. The spinal tonsils, basically type 1, the tonsils of the what? Not of the throat, of the cerebellum. These tonsils, they will herniate, to the foramen magnum into spinal cord. This will increase the pressure and cause syringomyelia. Okay, it can cause That means that although it is a congenital disease, syringomyelia manifestations will be in the 20-30 years later. The dilatation. Cherry 1 malformations. So cherry 1 malformations up to 5 are there. In fact, there are 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, many are there. Just I put 1, 2, 3, 4. Type 1 is only tonsils are herniated. Type 2 is also called Arnold cherry malformations. There is a vermis of the cerebellum is displaced herniated. Type 3 occipital encephalocele. Hydrocephalus, that is CSF will occipital. There is a dilatation of the fourth ventricle. It's fourth ventricle. It will dilate there inside the cerebellum also. Encephalocele will be seen. In type 3, that is 4 is lack of cerebellum itself development, and in type 5 is occipital lobe ectopia with into the foramen magnum. Occipital lobe will also, of course, cerebellum is not there. Occipital lobe will also herniate into the foramen magnum. That is type 5. Patient of trauma has developed priapism. The lesion is at where? Medullary damage, midbrain damage, cortical damage, spinal cord damage.
Spinal cord.
Yeah, good. Spinal cord damage. So the causes of priapism: non-ischemic or increased blood flow, ischemic decreased blood flow. Priapism. So the in increased blood flow, it is because of vascular supply. Like there is a fistula between the artery and the cavernous sinus. Penile and perineal trauma leading to fistula formation. Cavernous sinus and artery, the fistula, then there is a erection because of that. Spinal cord injury I discussed. Urological surgery damaging the sympathetic nervous system, supplying the penis, will also end up with the priapism. So ischemic means what? Venous return getting obstructed basically. Drugs, venous vascular thrombosis, sickle cell anemia causing thrombosis in the pelvic venous supply, leukemia, TPN induced hyperviscosity, these drugs, cocaine and CPZ, tertiary syphilis, all these can cause venous outflow obstruction. And cause what? Priapism. All of the following are features of myelopathy except facial nerve involvement. Can you have facial nerve involvement in myelopathy? Brisk jaw jerk. It is not facial nerve involvement. Sorry, I have typed wrongly. Facial involvement it is. All of the following are features of myelopathy. Facial impairment. Then brisk jaw jerk, brisk pectoral jerk, urgency or incontinence of maturation.
Brisk pectoral jerk, sir.
What?
Brisk pectoral jerk.
Myelopathy. See what are the afferents of different afferents of jaw man? Jaw
Trigeminal.
is the masseter muscle. This is supplied by what? Trigeminal nerve. Okay. Trigeminal nerve. Okay. So the motor nucleus of trigeminal is in where? Pons. So to have an intact jaw jerk, the lesion of spinal cord, see what happens is spinal cord lesion, can cause a brisk jaw jerk. Jaw jerk, will it be brisk or absent or normal? In fact, brisk means actually present or absent it is. Jaw jerk, if it is present, we'll call it as brisk. To be very simple, if you can elicit a jaw jerk, it is brisk. If you cannot elicit a jaw jerk, it is normal. It is absent. In fact, it is normal like that. Sorry, not absent. If you can elicit a jaw jerk, it is what? It is exaggerated. Normally, you cannot like that. So the lesion of the myelopathy, which is in the below the medulla, medulla, because the afferent pathway of efferent pathway. All of the following are efferent pathway is what? Trigeminal nerve. The myelopathies will not produce brisk jaw jerk. Okay, it doesn't produce brisk jaw jerk. To produce a brisk jaw jerk, you should have a upper motor neuron. That means above the pons, you should have a lesion. Actually, above the pons. So in a clinical areas, jaw jerk, yeah. Jaw jerk, afferent reference of trigeminal nerve, stressing of the muscular functions. This actually differentiates between the high cord lesions from the lesions above the foramen magnum. So, if you want to know the cord or above the foramen magnum, the lesion is, you can elicit a jaw jerk. And if there is brisk jaw jerk, you can straight away say this lesion is not from spinal cord, it is above. If you don't get brisk jaw jerk, then it could be above or below. Like that, approach is like that. So, brisk jaw jerk usually is a UMN type of lesion where I get pseudobulbar palsy. Pseudobulbar palsy above the bulb. If you get a lesion above the bulb, what is bulb? Medulla. So above the medulla and all that, if you get a lesion, you get a what? Brisk jaw jerk. Okay. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Most common extradural tumor of spine is extradural.
Sir, metastasis.
Yeah, metastasis. Most common cancer showing leptomeningeal metastasis to the brain. Which of them? Which of them will produce?
Sir. Sir, malignant melanoma.
Breast cancer. Breast cancer, brain. You can see breast cancer here.
Okay.
Okay. Where did I go? Okay. So breast cancer is the this one lesion of brain metastasis common. Onion skin pattern of loss of sensation or face. So that is syringomyelia. Because it involves syringomyelia produce onion like loss of sensation. Dissociated sensory loss is not seen in. Can you get disordered sensation in diabetes mellitus?
Diabetes mellitus, sir.
It is seen, man. Patient will have a tropic ulcer, he'll have fine touch on they'll be there, but pain and temperature lost because of that tropic ulcer will happen. Diabetes mellitus, peripheral neuropathy, there could be a disordered sensation. Syringomyelia, when there is a disordered sensation. Chorda equina, I told you it is not there. Conus medullaris, you can have disordered sensation. I told you that. So the answer is this. Damage to spinal tract, definitely dissociated sensation. So this is the answer. Okay. Conus medullaris can have disordered sensation, whereas chorda equina will not have. There is a spelling mistake. A quadra. It is chorda. Okay, thank you. So you got anything? You ask me now. Any doubts? Any doubts?
No, sir.
No doubts.